Welcome to the September 10, 2020 meeting of the Miami City Commission in I was about to say these historic chambers, but pursuant to Executive Order number 20-193 issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on August 7, 2020, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present, physically or at any specific location, and utilizing communications media technologies such as telephoning or video conferencing as provided by Section 120.545B2 Florida statutes. Procedures for public comment will be explained by the city attorney shortly. Procedures for the swearing in of parties for the planning and zoning and or quasi-judicial hearings will be explained by the city clerk. The members of the city commission appearing remotely for this meeting are Senator Alex Diaz del Portillo, Joe Carollo, Manolo Reyes, Ken Russell, the vice chair, and me, Keon Hardeman, the chair. Also appearing remotely are the city manager, Art Noriega, city attorney, Victoria Mendez, city clerk, Todd Hannon. The meeting will be open at this moment when the Madam City Attorney reads the procedures to be followed during this meeting.
Good morning. Any person who is a lobbyist pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code must register with the city clerk and comply with related city requirements for lobbyists before appearing before the City Commission. A person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff member until registering. A copy of the code section about lobbyists is available at the city clerk's office or online at www.municode.com. Any person making a presentation, formal request, or petition to the City Commission concerning real property must make the appropriate disclosures required by the city code in writing. A copy of this city code section is available at the office of the city clerk or online at www.unicode.com. In accordance with section 233F and G, the city code, in the agenda, the material for each item on the agenda for this virtual meeting was published and made available to the mayor, members of the city commission, and the public at least 5 business days before the meeting. The material for each item on the agenda is available during business hours at the city clerk's office and online 24 hours a day at www.miamigov.com. Any person may be heard by the city commission through the chair upon registering pursuant to published notice for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the city commission unless modified by the chair. Since it's a virtual meeting, as authorized by the governor of the state of Florida, members of the public wishing to address the body may do so by visiting miamigov.com virtual meeting to upload their 2-minute video comments to be played during the virtual meeting or to submit their written comments via the online comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been distributed to elected officials and the city administration throughout the day so that the elected officials can consider the comments before taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute to elected officials up until the chairperson closes the public meeting. Members of the public may also call 305-250-5340 to provide comments via the dedicated City of Miami public comment voicemail, where the individuals will be able to leave a 2-minute message that will be played during the virtual commission meeting. Members of the public may also pre-register to provide live public comment by phone during the meeting. You may pre-register by calling 305-250-5341 or online at www.miamigov.com, Government Live Public Comment. All comments submitted will be included as part of the public record for this virtual meeting and will be considered by the City Commission prior to any action taken. The city will accommodate any speakers desiring to appear in person, subject to all applicable emergency measures in place to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. The city set up a terminal in the event members of the public travel to City Hall to provide public comment. Speakers who appear in person will be subject to screening for symptoms of COVID-19. Any persons exhibiting any symptoms of COVID-19 will not be permitted to enter City Hall. All interested parties are required to abide by all state, county, and local emergency orders and are urged to remain at home and practice social distancing. If the proposition being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the City Commission takes action on the proposition. When addressing the City Commission, the member of the public must first state his or her name, his or her address, and what item will be spoken about. Any person with a disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, and services for this meeting may notify the city clerk. Section 286.01144C Florida statute specifically authorizes the city to prescribe procedures or forms for an individual to use in order to inform the board or commission of the desire to be heard, to indicate his or her support and opposition or neutrality on a proposition. The city, through its multiple comment options, has provided 5 different methods to indicate, among other things, the public support, opposition, or neutrality on items and topics to be discussed at the virtual city commission meeting. The public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during the meeting within reasonable proximity and time before the meeting. These public comment options, established and provided for the virtual regular city commission meeting, comply with section 286.0114 and section 120.54 Florida statutes. The city also created a simple set of instructions explaining how the public may comment with their option. These instructions were provided to the public with notice via the city's social media channels and published online at miamigov.com virtual meeting. Please note, commissioners have generally been briefed by city staff and the city attorney on items on the agenda today. PZ items shall proceed according to section 7.1.4 of the Miami 21 zoning code as temporarily modified pursuant to emergency ordinance numbers 13902, 13903, and 13914. Pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903 and 13914, parties for any PZ items, including any applicant, appellant, appellee, city staff, and any person recognized by the decision-making body as qualified interveners, as well as applicant representatives and any experts testifying on behalf of the applicant, appellant, or appellee, may either be physically present at City Hall to be sworn in by oath or affirmation by the city clerk, or may appear virtually and make arrangements to be sworn in by oath or affirmation in person at their location by an individual qualified to perform such duty. Pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903, members of the general public who are not parties to the action pending before the city commission are not required to be sworn in by oath or affirmation. The members of the city commission shall disclose any communications pursuant to Florida statute 286.0115 and section 7.1.4.5 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance. Staff will briefly present each item to be heard. For applications requiring city commission approval, the applicant will present its application or request to the city commission. If the applicant agrees with the staff recommendation, the city commission may proceed to its deliberation and decision. The applicant may also waive the right to an evidentiary hearing on the record. The order of presentation shall be as set forth in Miami 21 and the city code, providing that the appellant shall present first. For appeals, the appellant will present its appeal to the city commission, followed by the appellee. Staff will be allowed to make any recommendation they may have. The city of Miami requires that anyone requesting action by the city commission must disclose before the hearing anything provided to anyone for agreement to support or withhold objection to the requested action pursuant to City Code Section 2-8. Any documents offered to the city commissioners that have not been provided 7 days before the meeting as part of the agenda materials will be entered into the record at the city commission's discretion. When the city commission takes action or votes on any proposition before it, it shall do so by roll call vote, which shall be recorded by the clerk and included in the record. Anyone wishing to appeal any decision made by the city commission for any matter considered at this meeting may need a verbatim record of the item. The video of this meeting may be requested at the Office of Communications or viewed online at www.miamigov.com. Please silence all cell phones at this time. The City of Miami is using Zoom to hold its September 10, 2020 virtual regular City Commission meeting. Zoom is a cloud platform for video and audio conferencing, collaboration, chat, and webinars across mobile devices, desktops, telephones, and room systems. In order to ensure the public has the ability to view the meeting, the City Commission's Communications Department will also broadcast the meeting throughout all usual avenues that are provided when the City Commission meeting is held fully in Commission chambers at City Hall. The meeting can be viewed live on Miami TV, miamigov.com TV, through the city's Facebook page, on the city's Periscope channel, on the city's YouTube channel, and on Comcast Channel 77. The broadcast will also have closed captioning. Additionally, the city has not selected a virtual platform that requires the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to watch this meeting. Aside from the Zoom platform and that the participants will be appearing remotely. The public shall have no discernible difference in their ability to watch the meeting. Commissioners, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth and these uniform rules of procedures we have established for this virtual meeting?
I am.
Yes, I am too.
Thank you. Mr. Chairperson?
Yes, Mr. City Clerk, can you please state the sworn-in procedures to be followed during this meeting?
Chair, there is actually no one in the chambers to be sworn in, so I believe we can proceed.
Okay. And when you, oh, okay. Okay, no problem. All right, let's see. Let's start with the first. Are there any mayoral vetoes, Mr. City Clerk?
Chair, there are no mayoral vetoes.
Okay, thank you very much. And is there a motion by the city commissioners to approve AM1 and AM2, the meeting minutes from February 24th and
Move it.
12th? They're probably moved and seconded by the chair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against? Okay, that motion carries. Now, as far as the agenda, are there any items that the city manager wants to withdraw, defer, or continue?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners, Madam City Attorney, Mr. City Clerk. At this time, the administration would like to defer and/or withdraw the following items. To be withdrawn, CA5. To be deferred to the September 24th meeting, CA6. To be deferred to the November 19th meeting, RE2. To be withdrawn, RE4. To be withdrawn, DI1. To be withdrawn, DI2, and to be withdrawn, DI3. And on the planning and zoning agenda, to be deferred, PZ1, to be indefinitely deferred, PZ2, and to be indefinitely deferred, PZ3. That concludes the item.
Chair, my apologies. Mr. Manager, PZ1 is being deferred to what date?
You know, I don't have a date specific on that deferral. I don't know if there was a specific request made to the zoning administrator or to planning and zoning. So I don't have a date on that as of right now.
Mr. City Clerk,
Do you have a date?
if we can hold off on a date for that, because I believe that may be withdrawn fully, but I don't know that we've received the correspondence to confirm that. So if we could just hold on that date.
Yes, ma'am. Chair, we'll pull PZ1 from the list of items.
This is deferral, right?
Normally, we need to have a date that it's going to be deferred to.
Typically, we would defer to the next.
You could continue it, and that'll continue it to the next meeting, which will be September 24th.
Unless you know that you're going to have the information on what date by the end of this meeting. Madam City Attorney, do you know what date you'll have by the end of the meeting?
If what we could do is we could do an indefinite for now, because we have to notice it anyway. So let's just do an indefinite deferral for now. When we have the information, we will clarify if it's fully withdrawn, and we could take it up at that time if the chairman so desires.
That's PZ1, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
You recognize, Senator.
what about PZ 2 and 3? Do we have dates for those?
Those are indefinite deferrals they have here.
Indefinite.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Are there any commissioners that have any items they want to withdraw or continue to defer?
Chairman, I'd just like to be noted as a co-sponsor for item RE5 and thank Commissioner Reyes for bringing that.
Just noted for the record. Okay. Is there a motion in accordance?
So moved.
Seconded by the chair. All in favor of the items, say aye.
Aye.
All against? The motion carries. Just noting it for the record. Okay, wonderful. All right, now we've come to the time where it's time for public comment. The first public, well, as we know, you have 2 minutes to address this body. You state your first name, your last name. You may state your address, and then you must state which item it is that you're referring to. And so I'll call on first individuals who may be at City Hall at the lectern, and then I'll move to a recorded comment if there are any. Madam City Attorney, you have something you want to read?
Yes, Chairman, did you want to talk about any of the pockets first?
I'm very sorry. I'm glad you brought that up. Can you read the titles of the pockets into the record, please?
Yes. There's a few of them, and please let me know if I forget anything. But first, we'll start with yours, Chairman, having to do with the Unsafe Structures Panel. A resolution of the City of Miami Commission requesting the city manager amend the process of courtesy notifications currently provided by Unsafe Structures prior to the enforcing of a demolition order of the Unsafe Structure Panel. Would you be naming that one P1?
That is going to be onto the record as what did you just call it?
P1.
I said P1, but
Pocket item 1, PI1.
Yeah, PI1 is what it is. She said P1. It might be another.
It's a new term. It's a new term that Vicky came up with. Hey,
That's what I think. That's what we used to do. But there's actually a term I think that's listed in the documents that actually tells you exactly what it is. But we'll refer to it as PI1 for identification purposes. Yeah. Can you read number 2?
the second one is by Vice Chairman Russell, a resolution of the Miami City Commission authorizing the extension of the city's existing motorized scooter pilot program until the execution and rollout of the permanent motorized scooter program or until the end of the pilot program pursuant to Section 2-33C9 of the City Code as described above, whichever is sooner, subject to the issuance of an emergency order by the Mayor of Miami-Dade County modifying or repealing the Miami-Dade County Emergency Order 05-20 to allow for the pilot program to resume.
Okay. We'll refer to it as PI number 2.
Then we have a manager's pocket, a resolution of the Miami City Commission authorizing the city manager to accept grant funds in the amount of $1,733,485.76, which includes a $1,575,896.15 in grant funding plus $157,589.61 in waived matching funds, resulting in no matching funds required from the City of Miami, consisting of a grant awarded by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, United States Department of Homeland Security, to the city's Department of Fire Rescue to be used for the purchase of personal protective equipment and related supplies, including reimbursements, to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus pandemic for the period beginning August 31st, 2020 and ending August 30th, 2021, further establishing a new special revenue project titled 2020 Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program COVID-19 Supplemental and appropriating funds for the operation of same, further authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute any and all necessary documents, all in forms acceptable to the city attorney for the acceptance, implementation of, and compliance with said grant award.
We'll refer to that one as PI number 3.
Then we have another pocket from the manager, a resolution of the Miami City Commission authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute an interlocal agreement in the form acceptable to the city attorney with Miami-Dade County for the distribution of coronavirus aid, relief, and economic security CARES Act coronavirus relief funds to the city of Miami, further authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute any and all other applicable documents, including any amendments, renewals, and extensions, all in a form acceptable to the city attorney as may be necessary for said purpose and in compliance with applicable laws, rules, and regulations, further authorizing the city manager to accept, budget, allocate, and appropriate any and all CARES Act CRF funds awarded to the city pursuant to the county's reimbursement process, the interlocal agreement, or any other applicable documents.
City Attorney and Mr. Chair, this is an emergency ordinance. I mean, I think that this pocket item, we should try to discuss this and pass it as soon as possible if it is right now, because this deals with the funds that we will receive from Bay County. And I think we are in it is an urgency of funds that we have now, of revenue. And I believe that we should take this, it has priority over everything else that has been said about. Is there a possibility that we can vote on this?
Yes, sir. Yes, we will have an opportunity to vote on it. We just have to get through the public comment, and we can take care of it.
Okay, and I'm suggesting that we vote on it, we use it, we deal with this as a priority. Thank you.
Okay. And we'll refer to that one as PI number 4.
Yes, and then we have a pocket from the Vice Chairman. An emergency resolution of the Miami City Commission urging United States President Donald J. Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to prioritize and accelerate actions to rally all necessary relationships and resources to prevent the Venezuelan oil ship Navarima from a potential oil spill which could cause severe environmental harm to the Caribbean and Floridian waterways. Further, and directing the city clerk to transmit a copy of this resolution to the president and the governor as stated herein.
We'll refer to that one as PI number 5.
Mr. Chair,
You recognize.
I may have an amendment to that pocket item a little bit later. Do we discuss it now? Can we do it when it comes up?
You can actually put the amendment on the record if you want to.
I want to put on the record, I want to add to condemn the Maduro government for its inaction in this matter.
I'd accept that wholeheartedly.
All right, so our city attorney's office will reflect it in when we discuss it later. And so we've exhausted our pocket item list. And so now I'll refer to public comment. Is there anyone from the public that'd like to speak that is at the lectern at City Hall?
There's no one at the lectern.
Okay. Then I'll open up the public comment for the recorded public comment.
We have 2 callers, sir.
Okay, we have 2 callers. Wonderful.
Yes.
I recognize the callers then.
Okay, operator 2, you're live.
Sir, go ahead. You're live with the commission, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, hi to my elected officials. My name is Jose Bravo, PO Box 350631, Miami, Florida 33135. My question is, what are elected officials doing to help property owners, landlords, that our politicians and elected officials have restricted property rights by not allowing property owners to evict non-paying tenants? And a lot of landlords, this is their sole income, and they're really struggling. They're very, they're suffering, and they don't know, what to do. They don't know how they're going to be able to pay their upcoming property taxes, because since they haven't been making any money, they can't evict the tenant, and they can't re-rent their unit to somebody that could pay the rent. Like what's in the works? Will there be some reimbursement from the government? Will there be any sort of plan? That's my question. What help do our politicians, our elected officials have for property owners? Because they're taking the hit from this virus, from what our politicians are doing. So that's my question. What help are in the works for property owners? Thank you.
Okay, operator 1, you're live.
Morning, sir. You're on with Miami City Commission. You may speak now.
Good morning, commissioners, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, Steve Warnick,
address 2501 Swanson Avenue. Calling to speak in support of RE5. This is a resolution promoting an alternative to the U.S. Army Corps back-based study. I served on the city's waterfront advisory board for several years and had the privilege to serve as chairperson. And I learned during that time that our threat is not just from Storm Surge, but coming from beneath us, beneath the surface here. The thing about this is it's not good for residents. It's not good for tourists. It's not good for our economy. It's not aesthetically pleasing. We certainly don't need another wall dividing our community. So I want to say thank you to Commissioner Reyes for sponsoring this, Commissioner Russell, all the commissioners standing together with the community to find better solutions to this problem that will be best practices and put Miami in the right place. So thank you for your time.
That is the end of callbacks. We'll now go to recorded public comment. Israel, there's no audio.
Sleeping on the ground. Good morning. This is David Winker, and I live at 2222 Southwest 17th Street. It's been a rough few weeks for the city since our last commission meeting. The city wrongfully knocked down a house and left the man that has lived there for almost 70 years sleeping on the grass for 2 days until we were able to get the Miami Herald to bring attention to the issue. And code enforcement is yet again being weaponized to settle political vendettas, this time to harass residents forced to work from home during the pandemic. How do we as residents effectively change our city government to eliminate self-serving cronyism and disregard for the law? Frustrated residents in Coconut Grove raised thousands of dollars to put up a billboard this week on Grand Avenue, shaming the city for allowing a developer to finish houses illegally built 6 inches apart. This is not an isolated incident. We have notified the city of a half dozen other projects under construction in the West Grove with illegal setbacks, and the city has done nothing. This cry for help on a billboard is unprecedented in the city's history. What does it mean for the rule of law when a city won't even enforce basic setback rules? How do you fight a city government that has gone rogue and ignores its own laws? Commissioner Joe Carollo, a man who physically attacked his wife in front of his daughter and was reprimanded for distributing Ku Klux Klan literature, was recently quoted in the press calling activist residents scumbags. We deserve better than this, and we are not going to stop demanding better government and rule of law in our city.
John Snyder, 3980 Hardy Avenue. I'm speaking on PZ3 with regard to the Carrollton School. First, once again, the agenda description of the HEP Board decision with regard to this item is misleading, intentionally biased, and wrong. The HEP Board denied the application. There is no such thing as a tie. This was brought to the city's attention in July, and yet it appears here again. Agenda items should be properly described. What is happening with regard to the appeal of the HEP Board denial of the environmental and historical aspects of the Villa Woodbine project is understandable in terms of the strategy pursued by the developers team. Like a magician, they are distracting the decision makers on the commission by getting them to focus on very narrow criteria in chapters 17 and 23 language. While they work around the objective, the zoning violation of building a massive commercial operation in a single-family area where it will cause major disruption. The camel's nose is a metaphor for a situation where the permitting of a small, seemingly innocuous act will open the door for larger, clearly undesirable actions. Do not allow the camel to put its nose under the tent. Vote to uphold the city's commitment to single-family zoning in this area. If the Villa Woodbine project is approved, what it will become can be predicted by what has happened at the existing campus on Main Highway. Once it was housed in the original estate home, El Jardin. The school now boasts two complete campuses, Barat and Duchesne. The second campus was acquired in 1991. The junior high school has seen additions, which include science labs, state-of-the-art classrooms, and new assembly space. The Barry Building at Barat was added in 1969. The Science Technology Library has now been in use since 2007. The Intermediate Science Math Pavilion opened in 2009. The Wellness Center opened in November 2014. The final phase of the master plan, a convocation center to replace the current all-purpose room in the Barry Building, was completed in March 2018. Current enrollment for pre-K to 12 is 820 students. The master plan for the Villa Woodbine campuses has not been revealed. Say no to the appeal. Do not allow the camel's nose under the tent. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sharon Quinn Dixon. My address is 3536 Rockerman Road in Miami, just a few houses away from the proposed development of the Carrollton School at Villa Woodbine. I am opposed to this development for the following reasons. As you may imagine, this will create a traffic nightmare. Even the development's consultants, during the last public meeting of the commission involving the school, described that traffic likely would be diverted to Tigertail Avenue. Well, diverting the school traffic to Tigertail Avenue is only going to cause other traffic, regular traffic, to come right back onto Bayshore Drive. Right now, the traffic situation in the morning and in the afternoon with the other school that's a mere few hundred feet away from the proposed school development already is at a standstill for a few hours every day. It just can't be allowed to get any worse. In addition, there is the historical significance of this property. We in Miami are famous for ignoring our history and paving over it. We've got to start preserving, especially the tree canopy gem that Villa Woodbine remains right now. Generally, it's time to stop the development in this corridor that is only going to make the lives of the residents in the immediately adjacent area deteriorate further. In recent years, we've put up with significant condo development up and down the Bayshore Drive corridor. In addition, the commercial development adjacent to City Hall is yet to be seen, but significantly will increase traffic. It's very likely. It's time to say no now. Thank you.
This is Joyce Nelson, 2535 Inaugural Avenue, Miami, Florida. Lived here since 1974. I'm calling on RE 77817, which is the 3384 Day Avenue project. Will you, the commissioners, take steps to stop the rampant code violations that continue to occur with no consequences? Will you continue to see setbacks disregarded, trees removed, height limits exceeded, lots split, properties demolished, green space diminished? Will you champion residents and not the developers? It's time to reinforce our code and stop allowing mistakes to happen. There must be consequences for these violations, or this story will never end. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emily Rentz. I am CEO and founder of Zeramed Research, located at 2222 Northwest 5th Avenue in Miami, Florida, in Wynwood. We're offering free COVID-19 rapid testing on the spot, and it is CLIA certified. Participants can also be eligible to participate in a research study that is a phase 3 clinical trial sponsored by Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. They can also receive up to $3,200 for their participation. So those who test positive can be part of the study for COVID-19 treatment, and those who test negative, who live with someone who tests positive, can also be eligible to participate in a vaccine prevention study. And all participants, again, receive up to $3,200. So they're not only able to make money by participating, but they are helping the research effort and helping us stop COVID-19 in the community. So to schedule a free test and also to receive a free mask, they can go to covidtestwinwood.com, or they can give us a call at 305-503-9006. And again, it's Zeramed Research, located in Wynwood at 2222 Northwest 5th Avenue, Miami, Florida. Thank you.
My name is Rose Pujol. I live at 2455 South Bayshore Drive. I'm calling regarding item 7 on the agenda. Resolution of the City of Miami Commission directing the city manager to determine whether additional enforcement actions or penalties can be imposed against construction permit holders who violate the code of the City of Miami, Florida, and get back to the commission within 90 days. I think this is critical. It's shameful what's going on on Day Avenue, and we're a city that the world looks at. So I encourage each and every one of you to vote on behalf of this resolution passing. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners and Mayor Suarez. I'm Ellie Haydock at 1617 Tiger Tail in Coconut Grove, Florida. And in case you hadn't noticed, neighbors are getting very upset about what's happening in their neighborhoods. And no one seems to be paying attention to how things are being ruined, starting with that settlement on Day Avenue. And now also, I speak to you on behalf of the Carrollton School project at Villa Woodbine. I think it's a travesty. It's going to be a traffic nightmare. And I think that Richard Heisenbottle does wonderful projects, but on this property, he is ruining a property. They have an auditorium the size of 2 residential lots. They have a swimming pool overstretched, hiding a bluff. These are for young boys. What happened to fields of running around? And the rest of it is paved parking or driveways. The property will be ruined. Please keep that in mind, and please do not allow this project, this school, to happen. Thank you. Bye.
My name is Jihad Rashid, 2983 Washington Street, Coconut Grove, Miami, Florida, 33133. Speaking on the Day Avenue structures, where the city is considering waiving its own ordinances. I vigorously oppose the city of Miami abdicating its responsibilities to its laws and its citizens, that they must take action to rectify the matter, including the demolition of the property or properties. There is opportunity set the precedent that all our laws will be null in effect, and we have home rule and we have responsibilities. We want the commission to fulfill the lawful laws and enforce them. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Anthony Parrish Jr. with offices at 3678 Grand Avenue. I'm calling regarding RE7. I think it's great that you are considering tightening up the process for permit applications. so that all new development conforms to the City of Miami codes, namely Miami 21 and also the neighborhood conservation districts. Please note that Miami 21 Article 2 has as its number one goal, quote, the preservation of neighborhoods. So what does preservation of neighborhoods mean if not preserving them for the neighbors who live there? Miami has over 24 unique neighborhoods. Most have some of the same concerns, like traffic congestion, pollution of Biscayne Bay, but some neighborhoods have other specific concerns, like tree canopy removal in the Grove, gentrification in Little Haiti, and intrusion of private schools into single-family neighborhoods in Shenandoah. But all neighborhoods want the laws of the City of Miami followed to the letter, with justice for all and not special favors for some. A case in point is the blatant and obvious illegal construction at 3374 Day Avenue in Village West Coconut Grove. It is simply not good enough, Commissioners, to say this structure must remain standing forever because it would be too expensive to demolish it. Too expensive for whom? Not for the Village West residents. We'll have to look at it from now until the end of time. It is also not good enough to sweep it under the carpet by saying it is one employee who made one mistake, and that's the one who's to blame, especially when that same employee went straight to another high-up position in Coral Gables Building and Zoning. Nobody, but nobody can say with a straight face that it was just one employee who made a mistake. Village West Coconut Grove is worth fighting for. 3374 Day Avenue cannot stand. Thank you.
Hi, this is Elvis Cruz, 631 Northeast 57th Street. So on the agenda, item RE7, yes, please support this item and enforce the code. No more horrible houses right next to one another, please. Item PZ1, please deny the appeal and protect the neighborhood. PZ4, please deny the appeal as both the HEP Board and the Spring Garden Association have voted. This will help preserve the historic integrity of that wonderful neighborhood of Spring Garden. PZ2 and 3, please deny the appeal and uphold the HEP Board's decision. Lastly, regarding the budget, please keep the net offices open, specifically the Upper East Side net that I've been involved with over many years has been responsive, beneficial, and helpful to the area. They've done a very good job. Thank you. Have a great day.
A group of single-family landlords want to ask this commission, what are you going to do for us? The president and governor have extended the eviction order to the end of the year. This is our source of income and how we put food on our kids' table. A representative of this commission suggested we get a loan to pay our property taxes. How could you force us to sacrifice for the renters and still burden property owners with free rent? And you still expect us to pay taxes? That seems to be a socialist abuse of power. What are you going to do for us?
Yes, my name is Barbara Mills. I am a resident of West Grove and a business owner in West Grove. I am calling regarding the Day Avenue structures. I am totally against this. I thought this was decided long ago that this could not be done, whereas these buildings are so close together and it goes against the Miami Code. I don't know what happened that they were able to do this, but I am not in favor of this building or these buildings or these structures being built the way they are. Still does not fit the culture of the West Grove community. I also feel that it's a shame for how these people are allowed to come into this community and just do whatever they want to do, and no one really want to go against them to object to what they feel that they want to do and not even ask or get permission for this to be done. But nonetheless, I am totally against it. It is not right, not fair, and it's unjustifiable. And I really do hope that someone hear my voice and understand that I am not for this. Please consider that once this gets started, then others will follow. We've gone through many fights in West Grove regarding these developers coming in and doing what they want to do. And now I think it's time for us to really step up, as we are doing now, to prevent this from continuously to happen and discredit the West Grove for what it originally was built for through years and years of great-grandparents on up to us now. So therefore, I am again saying to you, I am totally objecting, not wanting this to continue to happen, and somehow something should be said or put a stop to this. I don't know what type of legislation or what type of lettering or wording that it should be, but I thought this was already in writing that they cannot come in and do such a thing. So what happened? Seems like when we decide something and everything is fine, then someone comes behind us and then now it's not fine. You know, that they are able to do what we already fought against. And the code, I don't know what's happened with the Miami Code, the City of Miami Code, but I think that should be revisited, and also somehow something should be put in place, whereas they have to be, a red flag should be posted or something, that if anyone comes in to try to do anything against the code, that it's not rectifiable, whereas someone can say, okay, no, you can't do this because it's red flagged and we see what you're trying to do and know that's against our Miami Code that we had already decided on. So I don't know how much time I have, but again, my name is Barbara Mills, and I am totally against this, and it's not fair to us as residents in West Grove. I thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day, and please consider everything that I have said, because it's important to our community that this does not take place. All right, have a blessed one. Take care. Bye.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nathan Curlin, 3132 Day Avenue, Coconut Grove. I'm speaking in opposition to 6981 and 6982, the Carrollton School of Villa Woodbine. I had an interesting occasion. I'm a visiting professor at FIU, and I had an interesting Zoom moment today. We opened the Zoom meeting, and there on one of the screens was one of my female students applying lipstick on her forehead, drawing lipstick on her forehead. I didn't know what to do, so I said, "Excuse me, miss, what are you doing?" And my student replied, "Professor, I'm trying to make up my mind." Commissioners, the time to make up your mind is long over. We've been doing this for months. The majority of the Coconut Grove community opposes the Carrollton School. The majority of the Coconut Grove community supports retaining our tree canopy. The majority of the Coconut Grove community asks that you reduce traffic and congestion, not increase it. And most of all, the vast majority of the community realizes that 14 non-tax-paying schools for the privileged is enough. Enough is enough. Commissioners, please put down the lipstick and vote no to the Carrollton School. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Williams. My address is 3523 Charles Avenue. I'm a born and reared citizen of Miami. I live in Village West. I'm calling for a public comment at the City Commission regarding the Day Avenue two structures that were built out of city code. I think both buildings should be demolished. They're out of code and we should abide by it. It's unfair to have such structures in our community to look at for a lifetime and based on decisions made by those who do not even visit our community. Support for Commissioner Russell and his endeavor to have the structures demolished. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ivan Tovar. I live at 1800 Mecanope Avenue since 2011. Also, I own the property in the corner of 22nd and South Bayshore Drive, currently under construction. I oppose to Carrollton School project because of the negative impact to the environment, the loss of green space, and the reduction of the tree canopy we have today. Additionally, the traffic and the pollution will increase dramatically and will deteriorate our quality of life. In the house and building in the corner, we preserved existing trees. The design was focused on the preservation of the nature and existing canopy of the site. It was extremely challenging because we have to design a house around the tree protection areas. At the end, we obtained an amazing architectural design for a single family that blends perfectly with the nature and landscape. For that achievement, we were recognized by the American Institute of Architects. We follow the rules. Everybody should do the same. This is a single family neighborhood, not appropriate for another school. Please do what you have to do and reject this disproportional project. Thank you.
Hello, this is Jessica Ginsburg. My address is 3917 Crawford Avenue, Coconut Grove. I am calling in support of enforcing the illegal houses that have been plaguing our neighborhood. We had at 3733 Solana Road an illegal Airbnb, Trivago, every site you could imagine, rental house with short-term rentals, with partiers, even during the COVID quarantine, racing up and down the street in cars. I have reams of documentation. The city of Miami has been very helpful. I know Ken Russell's office was involved with this. We have correspondence with Rachel Dooley, the city attorney, and we know that there's been litigation involving this property, which is owned by a Nicholas Economou under a corporate name, and the real estate agent, Kelly Lyles, has been involved with other party rental houses in North Miami area. So this has been just a plague of our neighborhood. We've gotten no sleep. A neighbor, Peter Benziger, has lost a tenant due to the commotion created by this party house. We want this shut down. Finally, the house is rented to what may be a long-term tenant, and we haven't had a party there in several weeks. But the fact that this can happen at any time is absolutely a nightmare for all of us. Please, please shut down the illegal party houses. Airbnb has no place in our neighborhood or any other short-term rentals. They should be outlawed. Thank you.
My name is Peter Benziger. I'm the owner of 3975 Crawford Avenue. My phone number is 904-806-8628. I'm calling to leave a comment regarding the party houses for the last year and a half at 3733 Solana Avenue. The house has been rented out short-term by Airbnb and used as a party house. My tenants who were in my house were very, very upset and actually left. It's caused me a lot of problems. There were vans delivering people for parties at 11 o'clock at night and leaving at 7 o'clock. Multiple complaints were made to the police. There was car racing occurring at 3 o'clock in the morning. So my comment is to please ask the city to crack down and eliminate party houses. Thank you very much.
My name is Rose Pujol. I live at 2455 South Bayshore Drive. I'm calling on behalf of items 6981 and 6982. The Carrollton's appeal of the HEP Board denial of their application for the Woodbine School. I would like to bring up two specific points. The first being the budget, which is on everyone's mind, and how this item will have an adverse impact on every single commissioner's district. You're taking property off the tax roll, and it's going to increase the service tax burden that not just the city, but the residents and the county will have to bear. And more importantly, you're increasing the liability that you're creating for the city regarding climate resilience issues. I think you're all very sophisticated. You've all been lobbied by all the climate nonprofits that are out there. And I think it's important that you bear in mind that as you enter hurricane season, you need to have a much more broader scope of how this school is going to impact our city. And that broader scope is not just the tax issue, it's the traffic issue, which also creates carbon emissions. It's also the impact that it's going to have on the trees and the tree canopy that will take 40 years for it to be replaced and have the soil back at the state it needs to be in. Please deny this appeal. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. This is Cindy Snyder calling from 3980 Hardy Road, Coconut Grove. I'm calling regarding commission items 6981 and 6982. The Villa Woodbine is at risk. Its owner is appealing the Historic and Environmental Preservation Board's denial to transform historically designated Villa Woodbine into a school campus with decision to deny Carrollton's use as a school. What is the situation? The historically designated property on 2.4 to 2.8 acres in the single-family residential neighborhood of Coconut Grove has for many years been used as a private club per the condition of its historic designation. It was bought recently as an investment by a corporation known as the Convent of the Sacred Heart. 2 additional adjacent homes have also been bought by the corporation, with the aim to enlarge the historically designated property to approximately 4 acres and change its use. The new owners want to make a lot of money and not pay property taxes. An audacious idea. But who are the losers? Who suffers in the process? Who makes up for lost taxes? There are other problems. The residents of the single-family neighborhood of Coconut Grove want its zoning codes enforced. They paid dearly to live in this highly desirable tree-canopied neighborhood. They do not want that environment diminished. They want good access to their local roads to be retained for their use, not the least of which is to be able to get to Mercy Hospital quickly. This proposed use would bring much noise, traffic congestion, and dangerous inconveniences both day and night to the entire community. Think about it. If one were having a stroke or a heart attack and medical personnel could not reach them quickly enough. When fire personnel were needed quickly, another likely use. The increased burdens and risk on this community brought by this project would not make for a safe environment or good neighbor relations. The neighbors do not want this for good reasons. The Historic and Environmental Preservation Board turned down this proposal. Vote no. Do not throw the neighborhood like unwanted garbage to the curb. Please show respect for neighbors. Uphold the HEP Board's decision. Thank you.
Hello, Jose Bravo, P.O. Box 350631, Miami, Florida 33135. I want to ask our elected officials, what are they planning to do to help landlord property owners during this pandemic? That landlords cannot evict tenants due to the rent memorandum and rent restrictions that our elected official put on landlords. And many landlords depend on the rent as their sole income. Many landlords don't have mortgages and they haven't made no rent income on the property. So what are our elected officials going to do to help landlord property owners? And upcoming taxes are coming up, and many landlords don't have money to pay these taxes. So what help are our elected officials doing to help the property owners? Please let the community know. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Commissioners and Mr. Mayor, my name is William Harvey and I reside at 3566 and 3580 Rockerman Road, a mere 12 homes away from the subject property, and I've lived here for almost 30 years. I'm opposed to the Carrollton School at Villa Woodbine for the following reasons. First, the significant adverse impact of additional traffic on our already overcrowded streets.
Second, the historic and environmental preservation designation of this property in its current unaltered state. Third, the tremendous loss of tree canopy and green space to Coconut Grove if this structure is built. And fourth, the clearly out-of-place massing compared to the abutting properties and the majority of the neighborhood. Please, draw a line in the sand and do not let this project go forward. Thank you.
Hello, this message is for our elected officials. My name is Jose Bravo, P.O. Box 350631, Miami, Florida 33135. And I'm calling because we want to find out what our elected officials are going to do to help landlord property owners during this pandemic, which our elected officials have put restrictions on evictions, on rent evictions, on non-paying tenants. Many landlords have this is their sole income, haven't made no money. They haven't been able to evict their tenant, and they haven't been able to re-rent their unit to somebody that will pay the rent. And with upcoming taxes, many landlords don't have the money to and are struggling and are suffering on paying, property taxes and maintenance on the building and stuff and their units. What are our elected officials gonna do to help property owners? Are there going to be, tax discount, or what are the plans? Please let the community know, because many landlords are suffering during this pandemic. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Hello, this is Lauren Blandon, address 2225 Tequesta Lane in Coconut Grove. I'm calling about agenda items 6981 and 6982, the proposal for the construction of a private school. I'm calling on behalf of myself and all of my neighbors, and we say that we are strongly opposed to allowing this construction to take place. We are asking that the appeal be denied, and we're asking that the original decision by the Historic and Environmental Board be upheld in denying the construction of that school. It is absolutely not needed in this neighborhood, and the impact and negative consequences of allowing this construction and of this operation to take place here would be just horrible for our community. So we request, please, that their appeal be denied. Thank you.
I am Dr. Carl Minch. I live at 1699 South Bayshore Lane, Miami. I wish to comment on the proposal for Carrollton School at Villa Woodbine, and I am in strong opposition.
Yes, good morning. My name is Kareem Antoni. I live at 3480 Point Siena Avenue in Coconut Grove. I'm calling in regards to tomorrow's, on September 10th, meeting related to Carrollton School at Villa Woodbine. I want to state my strong opposition to this expansion by the school. I'm extremely concerned about the continued tax impact from Carrollton and other schools in this area, and the amount of schools that are concentrating here in detriment to the neighbors. I'm also extremely concerned about the impact on the environment and the ancient trees and the tree canopy that the property has today. And I am also, again, I'm a daily sufferer about the traffic that these schools bring onto our commuting. So adding even more schools in this area would be pretty detrimental to the productivity and the well-being of myself and my family. So I would strongly urge the county not to approve this this expansion, this proposed school at Villa Woodbine. Thank you.
My name is Mario Bravo. I live at 3339 Virginia Street, and I'm calling in regards to the Carrollton Boys School. I'm against the school being built there. I'm sure Carrollton offers a wonderful education, but that location is no place for a school. The traffic, along with the destruction of the tree canopy, should make this a no-brainer and should bring this issue to a standstill. In addition, the environmental protections that run with that land, create a legal obligation for the city to protect that land from development of that school. As a resident and a property owner in Coconut Grove, I can't believe that this issue has even made it this far. Really hope that the city does right by its residents and votes against the school being there. Thank you.
My name is Irene Warner. I live at 2 Grovile Drive, apartment 805, Miami 33133. I adamantly oppose the Covenant of the Sacred Heart taking the property that they purchased to use for any school, boys or girls, or where will the binary children go. In addition, this property was purchased with them knowingly that it was not zoned for their use, and by purchasing this property, the city is losing untold real estate tax revenue. We do not need another private school in this neighborhood. We do not need the additional traffic that South Bayshore Drive cannot bear as it is. And this should be denied as the Historical Planning Board originally denied it. I urge the City Commission to stop this ongoing deferral, and once and for all, deny it, and let us use this property for public green space, which this city and this community desperately needs. Thank you.
My name is Dr. John North, 3580 Royal Palm Avenue. I've been a resident of Coconut Grove for over 50 years. I would just like to support the resolution to make accountable the City of Miami commissioners and the employees for proper zoning and not allow improper zoning, as has been demonstrated by the Day Avenue debacle that is on the billboard on Grand Avenue. Too long, no accountability has been afforded. Sejas left and went to the city of Coconut Gables. There are other complicit people at the city of Miami. They need to be made accountable in that department individually or collectively, and something needs to be done actively, retroactively rather, to do that. And going forward, I completely support Ken Russell's motion to make this accountable. This needs to have teeth in it, and you all are responsible for making the teeth, because you each individually represent each constituent that elected you, and you need to have their respect for the other commissioners and their constituents that elected them. It's not a turf war, guys. We need some accountability. Thank you.
This is Fabian Garcia Diaz. I'm a resident. My home address is 3121 Southwest 22nd Avenue, Miami, Florida 33133. My comments are for items 6981 and 6982 regarding the Carrollton appeal for a massive private school at Villa Woodbine. And my comments are no. Please, commissioners, vote no. Do not allow another massive construction in North Grove. Besides adding more traffic and diluting our canopy, they are not going to pay taxes. And we need every penny, as we are right now going through major restructuring of our budget. Every penny counts, and we are looking and counting with your proper vote on that. Please vote no.
My name is Marcus Wedner. I live at 2669 South Bayshore Drive in Coconut Grove. I have a public comment for the Carrollton School agenda item for September 10th. I want to register my strong objection to allowing the project to go forward. The incremental traffic associated with students and parents and faculty after all of the noise and the destruction associated with the construction of the site are not what we need. Furthermore, in an era where the municipal finances are under severe strain, even before COVID, but with COVID taking out a tax-paying property and putting it in the hands of a non-tax-paying property is just fiscally irresponsible. I think there have got to be other alternatives for the Carrollton School. I think those alternatives should be pursued. Do not think this project should go forward. Thank you.
Hi, this is Ann Wegner. I live at 2669 Bayshore Drive, and that's apartment 903. And I'm calling in reference to the Carrollton School expansion. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew that we were completely against it, that the amount of traffic that would be increased is not supportable by the community. And furthermore, that taking the taxes away from what that property would ordinarily generate is not acceptable. That there was no thought given by the church to compensate the community for the lost revenue, and it's a non-starter. Thanks. Bye-bye.
My name is Sandy Mielke, M-I-E-L-K-E. I live at 2434 Swanson Avenue. I'm calling about items 6981 and 6982. I live just a few blocks from this proposed abomination. In the 52 years I've lived in this neighborhood, we've had to deal with burglars, drug dealers, money launderers, pedophiles, sleazy lawyers, and embezzling city contractors. Well, to put a little twist on the words of Howard Beale from Patty Chayefsky's network, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. There is really only one issue here. Who benefits from this proposal? The answer is glaringly obvious. People who do not live here. We who do live here will not be steamrolled by a nefarious alliance of carpetbaggers and scalawags. Decision makers, govern yourselves accordingly.
Hi, I'm Brian Winmark, and I am at 3123 Virginia Street in Coconut Grove. I'm calling concerning the agenda items 6981 and 6982. I oppose vehemently the creation of these permission for a new school to be approved because we have a very big traffic congestion as it is. So I would like to leave my message, and I hope that this is taken into account when it comes time to vote on the agenda item. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Leon Bannister Jr. I live on 2310 Tacoto Court. The items that I will be addressing are 6981 and 6982, the Carrollton School. I have been a resident of the Grove for the past 18 years with my partner who has been here for 31 years. As someone who lives very close to the proposed school, I would like to state my opposition to the new project. The location that has been selected is already congested due to Rensselaer Middle School's traffic. Driving on Tacoto Ave or Bayshore Drive during certain times of the day is already a timely ordeal. Another school will only bring more traffic and more gridlock. The Grove has already suffered from massive overdevelopment that is making it lose its special charm. In addition, we already have a number of schools located in this area. I do not believe another school is needed. Please do not let this proposed plan go through. Thank you for your time.
This is Joyce Nelson, 2535 Inagua Avenue. Lived in the Grove since 1974, and I'm calling you about the Villa Woodbine project, items 6981 and 6982. Please mark me as a resident taxpayer opposed to this for-profit business proposed for this historic site. Please note no. Please support residences and the vast majority of the Coconut Grove community who oppose this scheme. Please support the Grove's tree cannery, reducing traffic and congestion. Please vote no. Thank you.
My name is Lanier Brannon. I live at 3 Grove Isle Drive, and I'm calling about Carrollton's proposed boys' school between Bayshore and Tigertail. I've lived in the Grove for over 35 years. I love the Grove. I've moved to 3 different places in the Grove, but have always chosen to live in the Grove for its unique personality. That is being threatened grossly by overdevelopment, and my husband complains every day about the traffic. We really cannot take on Bay Shore more crowding, and Tiger Tail is already overstressed because of Ransom Everglades Middle School during school hours. Please vote no to this proposal. Thank you.
That's the end of the recorded public comment.
Are there any other public comments?
There are not.
So there are none, correct? Seeing that there are no further public comments, I'll close the public comment section at this time. What I'd like to do first, well, let's do this. The chair would like to entertain a motion to approve the CA and the PI agenda. Well, let's do this. We can move a lot of business, and then of course we can talk about anything that we want to talk about on the agenda. So I'll say the chair would like to entertain a motion to approve the CA, the PH, and the PI agenda. That's the pocket item, PI. Is there a motion in accordance?
You want, Mr. Chair, you want to do them all at once?
Yeah, CA, PH, and PI. We can discuss any of the items or pull any of the items that you want to talk about. So that was a motion, Mr. Vice Chairman? Second,
One of those pocket items is the scooter program. I want to take that out. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. So we remove that one from the. It's a motion. The mover.
And if you give me a minute, I want to make sure that we that I don't miss anything.
Okay, that's fine. That's no problem.
Because you're too fast for me today, Mr. Chair. Way too fast for me.
I have one more thing.
You're being a county commissioner today, not a city commissioner. I sense it. I smell it. Let me just make sure that we don't miss anything.
Chairman, and remember that one of the pockets was amended by Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla.
And I think the commissioner, the sponsoring commissioner accepted the amendment. So, right? Sorry. I think we're fine with that. I mean, I'm fine with that. Maybe he's okay with it. It's only that scooter issue that I wanted to, that little surprise that Commissioner Russell pulled on us again today, a little sneaky thing he's doing on us today. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. It's okay.
I also want to talk about that scooter.
Okay, so that's PI number 2. So PI number 2 is not a part of this motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair. So moved.
Any other discussion? Nope. Recognize Mr. Vice Chairman.
No, I had already moved the item.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Okay, let's move on to we'll come back to the to PI2, but let's move on to the resolutions that we have that are on the agenda. So we have RE1, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Is there a motion to approve the RE agenda?
Nope. I need to go through it more carefully so that we don't miss anything.
Okay, take a look at it. It's been properly moved, seconded by the chair. And Commissioner Carollo, RE2 was deferred, and RE4 was withdrawn.
Can I make a comment on RE3?
Absolutely, you recognize.
The only thing that I wanted to add
is that in that blueprint or that analysis that is going to be conducted on the West Grove Affordable Housing Blueprint, I want to include an analysis of the income, of the area income, because if we are going to offer affordable housing, we have to know what is the AMI on the income of the area, and that's the only thing that I would like to include in that analysis. I think it is a great suggestion. But we have, in order to be completed, we need to include income.
Chair, my apologies. Madam City Attorney, does that amend RE3? Is that an amendment to RE3?
I would believe so.
Well, I would like to propose an amendment with the proposal, the proponent accept it. That's the only way that I could support it.
Mr. Chairman, on RE7, I'd like to sponsor that with the caveat that this should be expanded even more so, but I won't hold this part of it. So in the near future, I will meet with the manager so we could make this even stronger.
Right. So,
good idea.
First of all, I want to recognize your sponsorship, Commissioner Goroyo, and Mr. Russell, Vice Chairman, you accepted Commissioner Reyes's amendment to RE3?
Yes, I accept Commissioner Reyes's amendment, and I welcome Commissioner Carollo's co-sponsorship. Thank you.
I also accept the amendment. Any further discussion?
I would like also to co-sponsor RE7. And so would I. RE7? That's right.
I think all of us will, yeah.
Yeah.
So, any other discussion?
I have a question of Commissioner Reyes on RE5. Can you kind of walk me through that? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What we are doing is, you see, I don't know if you remember the plan that was presented by the Army Corps of Engineering, which is the Berlin Wall and all over Miami. And we presented an alternative plan from DPA and with all sketches and everything. And this is a federal project. And you better than anybody else know that if we are going to have any influence on the decision from the Army Corps of Engineers, it's going to be any influence is going to be exerted on the decision have to come at the federal level. What I wanted to do is I wanted to make this a priority to our lobbyists in Tallahassee, I mean in Washington, that this will be revisited and we have an alternative solution to an alternative proposal instead of in lieu of all that ball and that it's going to affect. I'm sorry. Instead of building that wall, that huge ugly eyesore wall that we want to build. That's right. And then what we want is to have a voice and make it a priority of the city of Miami. That our lobbyists make sure that our federal elected officials and Marco and everybody else knows that this is not what we want down here. That it has to be an alternative solution has to be found. Okay. That's the only thing. That's all I just wanted to have a voice in town. I sort of want to have your vision of what. That's right. Because I agree with you. I mean, that whole concept they came up with is not a good concept for downtown Miami. I think it's an eyesore. So it's just we're moving in the same direction. I want to make sure that we're all in agreement. And to recommend to our lobbyists. That's right. And any suggestions you have, and any other commissioners and anybody else that has any suggestion that we want to include, that you want to, in order to take this, tackle this problem the way that it should be tackled. Yeah, and we should ask a commissioner from Commissioner Russell. What are your thoughts on the eyesore wall, on building that wall?
Through the chair?
I'm talking the wall on Biscayne Boulevard, not the wall in, not the big wall. This is the little wall. No, the one. You're getting this on the other wall.
Yes, no, I agree with Commissioner Reyes and the DDA. What I don't want to happen is that we actually scare away the $4 billion. I want $4 billion. I just wanted to do what the city needs versus what the Army Corps is looking at in a silo. The Army Corps is not looking at this holistically. And I think our big benefit here is that this has a 10-to-1 benefit to cost ratio, which is the highest that they've ever found. They're happy with a 2-to-1. So if they spend more money on this, and let's say it were a 5-to-1 benefit to cost, it would be the project that we dream of. Mr. Manager, I have a concern though, because we really haven't had a federal lobbyist team working for us that I know of. And I think that's so important at this time when we're not getting our fair share of the CARES Act, when so many things are important that we need aligned to the federal government. Do you have a plan to employ and contract a federal lobbyist to help us with these things?
So we have a solicitation that's been drafted and will go out for both a team to represent us at the federal and the state level. We haven't had much of one, obviously, in recent years in terms of outside help. So that's coming. There will also be an amendment to the budget in the final presentation of the budget to add additional resources to that effort. And I'm working on that now, but that's forthcoming, and we're going to have everything teed up and ready to go. Certainly by the state's committee process, if we can, and then get it so that we're very well represented during session this year. And then as soon as we have that ready, it'll have a component that has a federal section to it.
He approached the forum, so I had an auction as a result.
Okay.
They had him, I just wrote
Is someone else speaking? Or did we lose the manager? He's not speaking. Okay. Also, in regards to the images that Commissioner Reyes submitted, they were beautiful. I don't know if the Army Corps of Engineers actually, that was the design they actually submitted, but that was a revision that was made. But putting the islands out there, making them accessible while you walk, was a wonderful use of the space. It's also to do what it was designed to do, which is to mitigate the rising of the water.
I really hope that they understand that. This is actually a big deal. This is actually a big deal for our city. So I'm glad that and I want to bring some attention to it for that reason, Commissioner Reyes and Russell. This is a big deal for the city. We want to make sure we get it right. It's important for our future. It's important for the aesthetics of the area, but also to deal with the environmental challenges that we have moving forward.
And I have also I want to make a comment on what Commissioner Russell statement about the expenditures on the investment. The $4 billion or whatever. We cannot blind ourselves with the amount of money that is going to be spent here, because what we have to look is at the future damage that road would have on a future investment from people in that area. I think that it will have the economic impact is going to be substantially larger than the $4 million. In the long run, because it is a range of things, and it will affect even our marinas. Okay, thank you very much.
Is there any other discussion on the items? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Madam City Attorney, can you read FR1 into the record, please?
Yes, Chairman. An ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 62, Article 6 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Zoning Planning Fees, more particularly by amending Section 62-22 of the City Code titled Schedule of Fees, Section 62-23 of the City Code titled Request for Review and Appeal, and Section 62-25 of the City Code titled Waiver of Fees, to provide clarification and updates on certain planning and zoning fees, to cap certain planning and zoning fees, and provide for a refund procedure of appeal fees, making findings containing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Is there any discussion on that item? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve it?
So move it.
Is there a second? Can probably move the second. All in favor of the item say aye. All against? Motion carries. Madam City Attorney, can you read FR2 into the record, please?
An ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 62, Article 1 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Planning and Zoning in General, more specifically by adding Section 62-2.2 titled Independent Feasibility and Economic Impact Studies to require independent feasibility economic impact studies by the City of Miami for certain new developments, creating a pool of qualified independent providers to conduct said studies that are selected on a competitive basis as provided herein, providing that the cost of the independent feasibility and economic study be borne by the applicant requiring said study, containing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Let me explain this because I know that many of you will have a question. Well, why you should do that? You see, many of those projects that we come before us, we don't have a cost-benefit analysis. How's it that is going to impact the neighborhood, the existing businesses, and the future development? And historically, we had a lot of economic development projections. One that is very famous or infamous is the Marlins Park. That development took place, and we were supposed to have a tremendous amount of development in the area, which never occurred. And we also have to protect the neighborhoods, and we have to protect existing businesses and how they are going to be affected in the area. But the only thing that I want is a cost-benefit analysis, which should be done in all major projects, and that's what I'm proposing. Which compare the benefits of the project against the harm, if it causes any harm, or the cost of the project to the neighborhood, to the area, and to further economic development.
Any discussion from anyone?
I have a question. Yes. If I may, Mr. Chair.
You recognize.
We are aware here that we need to move a number of projects, some more controversial than others, moving forward. We're in bad economic times here in our city and throughout the country and the world. Will this delay any of those projects that, from my point of view, that we need to move forward to be able to spur economic activity and create jobs and kind of get the economy back on its feet? Is this some sort of, will this create some sort of legal impediment to moving those projects forward?
I don't
delay any of those projects?
No, I don't think so. I think this is very simple, you see, and what we need to do is we have to move development, of those projects, but we want to make sure that those projects are going to be successful. And the impact in the area is going to be substantial. It's going to be positive. That's what we want. I want, you see. Because at most, we have instances that projects have been developed and they haven't done anything for the area. On the other hand, it's at harm. See, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Chairman.
But it will not. I don't think this will be an impediment on any of the ones that are our proposal. We can make this effective on new projects that are coming projects. We cannot make this, retroactive. Those projects that they are already on the making, there's nothing to do about it.
Mr. Chairman.
Recognize.
Show me as a sponsor of this ordinance, and I'll cut through the chase. I'll make the motion to approve it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, but we're still in debate. So right. So I would like to know from our city manager, does this impact any pending projects that we have in the books or being worked on right now? We have probably 5 or 6 of them, right? That you and I have discussed, manager. Will this be retroactive in the sense that all of a sudden it'll create a new barrier to getting these things to move forward?
I don't know the timeliness of it in terms of when it actually would take effect and whether it, in essence, is retroactive. Vicky, what's the trigger on the reso? Like in other words, what triggers the point at which the studies directed to a particular development project? At what point does it trigger it?
So it's not retroactive in nature, but if this becomes effective prior to any big projects coming online, they will be affected. So potentially this can affect many of the big projects that you're working on right now, whether it's Maurice, whether it's anything that comes online right now that may have review through the planning department would be triggered based on how it's done.
If you're gonna use Maurice, they claim that they're gonna bring a cost benefit analysis.
Right, I think they're already doing it.
I asked them for that one in my.
No, but to answer the commissioner's question, at what point, right? At what point in the process do you actually formally make the request of them? Is it when they submit for building plans? Is it to submit their plans? If they're going for any entitlement provisions? If they got to go to UDRB as an example. I mean, what point would it trigger? It'll help answer his question in terms of, what's maybe already in the queue and what may be coming.
I believe when it comes in through the planning department, but I may have to defer to Francisco on this. I think it's when it's going through planning.
You see, the decision I don't want them to have so much additional expenses because the decision on when this will be triggered, that could be decided when would be the most logical moment,
of course,
by the administration. You see, and set a date, and this could be open for discussion. You see, but what I really want is to have a process that will inform us on the feasibility and the benefits and the cost of the projects in the city of Miami, the future benefits or future damage that is going to create to the area, it be a neighborhood or be businesses that are around the area. And it is a simple analysis, and it's called cost benefit analysis, and that's why it is required, in state and at the federal level and all.
And who does this analysis?
A professional.
There'll be an independent pool of consultants created, and then the developer will do it. It'll probably be on a rotating basis, and the developer will have to use that pre-qualified pool that we create.
I think the residents deserve this. You see, the residents deserve this. Every time that a development, a huge, and this is not for a small development, this is for huge. Any time that a development comes around, what happens is that we are promised the moon. And they stand before us and said this is going to create 2,300 or 40,000 jobs, and without any basis. You see, and they sell the project if it is the best thing since Coca-Cola, and why not? Later on, we see that everything that was promised it is not true. The neighborhoods are affected, and I think that it is smart for us to protect ourselves, because I know the project would come in, which is it'd be more beneficial for the city than the one that has been proposed. See. And it is over 200,000 square feet. Which is not a building that you're going to have. 5-6-story building or anything like that. It is a huge development that could have an economic and social impact in the area.
So, Mr. Chair, so how many? Maybe Francisco can answer this question. How many? Well, we can answer the first question. I know we heard it, but and then how many projects are being impacted by this to pass?
Thank you, Commissioners. In response to your first question, of course, as soon as the ordinance becomes effective, we would immediately implement it. And by implement it, I mean we would require every project that meets the criteria, the 200,000 square feet, to engage in the process to produce an economic impact analysis. That said,
Okay, hold on. How long does that take? How long does those studies take normally?
well, that is to be determined, but the requirement would exist. And what I was about to suggest is that I would suggest it might make sense to also include in the ordinance sort of an active date, because as the manager mentioned, this ordinance presupposes the creation of a pool that has to go through a procurement process.
It takes a process.
So that is in effect, we will not be in a position to make that requirement of the applicants. So if the ordinance were to become effective, say, a month from now, and then we would allow ourselves approximately a 6-month period, which is what the procurement process takes, it's an educated guess, then upon completion of that 6-month period, we would expect for the procurement process to be complete, to have the pool of professionals, as Commissioner Reyes alluded to, and from that point on, that requirement would then kick in.
It does. So it would be a long, convoluted, bureaucratic process at a time that we need to move, always keeping our customers, which are our citizens, always their best interest first and foremost. But it will create a bureaucratic process that could drag something out for a year potentially, according to what you said, Mr. Garcia. Right between the getting together and putting the pool of people that are going to review it and going through the whole process. So how do we spur an economy if we're now creating another impediment to spurring that economy by creating a process that's going to take a year from now, when we're not going to be in the $25 million hole we're in now, we're going to be in a $40 million. I know they say it's 30. I think it's going to be closer to 40. How do we not get these shovel-ready projects, or how do we not get these projects to be shovel-ready and to move them forward? And we all know what we're talking about. We're not only talking about one. We're probably talking about 4 or 5 of them. I think you're confusing the controversial ones. I think you're confused in this because I'm not confused. I'm not confused. I have a very clear understanding. Well, I think that you're confused. Hold on a second, Commissioner. Don't tell me I'm confused. I understand. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. And listen, I'm having a serious conversation. Okay, and I'm having a serious conversation, and I wanted to clarify that this doesn't mean that right now that it's going to be implemented. If it will be implemented once the conditions or everything, the process is in place, and if the process it takes a year to be in place, none of these projects that are now on the works will be effective. Because it would be absurd to say now, tomorrow, we are going to get, or next month, a pool of experts. Right. To start with, we don't know. We haven't identified a pool of experts. I mean, who the experts are. We will go through the process of identifying the people. Meanwhile, any project that comes in is not effective until the whole process is in place. That could take a year. But what I want is to have a process in place that when we get all those magnificent or great projects that comes before us, promising the moon and promising so much, that we have a base to analyze it if it's going to be profitable in the first place, how much is going to affect the community, I mean the area, and how much they claim that they're going to create 20,000 jobs. What's the base behind that? So my last question, maybe of our city manager or Francisco, is it fact that nothing that we're discussing, we'll be discussing in the next month and a half, will be delayed, because we're going to make a decision on all these projects, one way or the other. It's going to come one way or the other, right? Decisions that are going to be difficult decisions for all of us. We have different perspectives on what we want or don't want. Is anything that we're discussing of those controversial projects, and you know what they are, are any of those going to be impacted by passing this?
So if the suggestion to establish an effective date that allows for some time to ramp up the process is included in the ordinance, then until that effective date comes around, say months from now, no project will be impacted.
And let me add also, any project could be this requirement could be waived with a forfeit vote. if it is such a, I mean, it takes, I mean, if it is controversial, whatever it is, and we want to go forward, and if it is of, the whole process will take too long for the project to develop, we can still come to the commission and vote for it, and we can waive it. So what I want to have is a process in place that we are properly informed of what is going to be the benefit and the cost, the public cost of this of any project. Because I had, in the time that I've been here, I have heard many projects that they come, and then they come with all the statistics. We're going to do this. We're going to create 20,000 jobs, so much money in tax base, blah 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 blah. And when you get down to the nitty gritty and you start adding, you see sometimes they include as benefits taxes that we don't receive it anymore. You understand? And the revenues that we don't receive anything. Now, what I want to have is a clear picture of when I'm voting, to know what I'm voting for. And that's it. And provide this to all of you guys.
So I have a couple comments about this. The first I'd like to say is that the resolution or the ordinance speaks to 200,000 square feet or above. And so that means that would impact people who want to develop by right. Say, for instance, if you're in the downtown area, you can develop a residential or mixed-use structure that is 200,000 square feet because you can go high. They would have to go through this process. And that wouldn't be like the downtown area building a high, a luxury building or whatever type of building, even if it was affordable housing building of 200,000 square feet. That's not something that you would normally, I would think, have to go through because everyone expects there to be tall buildings to be in that area. And so it makes me think about how can we narrowly tailor this so that it only affects the type of development that you're thinking of, which are things that are going to disrupt the neighborhood. And so maybe it seems that the ones that come to disrupt are typically things that ask for an exception or some sort of benefit from the city government, such as a waiver or change of zoning or like such as SAP and things of that nature. So maybe what we can do is we can make the language speak to that, to those developments that are requiring some exception from the government or permission that they would not normally have, that they do this. So therefore we wouldn't stop people who bought a parcel of land, who want to develop, they have every right to develop, and they want to move in accordance with that right. I think that would, because say for instance, for those developments that need an exception or that are asking for some sort of approval from the board, they already know that it's going to take more time because they need to convince the commission to actually approve what they're requesting, which is, it could take as little as a month or 2 months, but as long as a year, 2 or 3 years. So they've already kind of put themselves in that position. Commissioner.
Yes, and you have a point. You have a point. And we can make an exception. Those that they can go over 200,000 square feet by right. But I'm going to ask you a question. Wouldn't you really? You want to be really informed? Do you want to know what effect that development is going to have in that area? Because I do. That is my concern. I want to have the real. To really know what's going to happen there, or at least have experts analysis of how this is going to affect the area. But I have to agree with you. Those properties that are by right, they can go over 200,000. We can not do anything about it. And I see I will have an exception on it, and I think that's a good point. We can accept those.
Okay, so that would be an amendment if we were going to this.
Okay, are you proposing that amendment?
I would propose that amendment.
I accept it.
And then I would also say that there's a waiver provision in this as well. So if for those who do find themselves in this predicament, they can also ask for a waiver because I understand where the senator is coming from. where you're saying
I do understand
this is
that.
the time where you want to ensure that people have an opportunity to develop in our communities without necessarily going through as much red tape as they would have to. But surely you're doing this, Commissioner Reyes, because you want to ensure that there's good policy in regard to how we move forward and develop our community. So I'm trying to find that balance in between to make sure that we're doing both those things. We're allowing development to continue where, you know, you bought a parcel of property and you're not asking for anything, you're moving forward as plans. And those where they're asking for something from us and they need our permission. And so therefore they need to give us more information.
And I agree with Commissioner Diaz-Portilla. I mean, we shouldn't be placing constraints, but at the same time, we have to be extremely careful. We are not in a fire sale. You see, we have to accept those projects that really are going to have long-lasting benefits for the city. You understand what I mean?
Right.
And that's the only way. That's the only way we can do it. And he is absolutely right. And I understand his concern. I understand his concern, and I agree with that concern. But I add to that concern that we have to be sure that there is a long-lasting benefit to any project that we're going to have in the city.
Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner Reyes and Commissioner Diaz-Portilla for those comments, because this is important that we encourage healthy development at this point. I think after the crash of 08 and 09, what saved the city financially was the boom of development that came afterward. What didn't happen, though, was a set of guide rails that ensured that development served the community in an appropriate way for transit connection, for green space, affordability especially. And so we want healthy development. We want to make it happen quickly. We want the revenues generated for the city, but we can't let it be without achieving the goals that we have in place. So I think this is a great ordinance if it does the right thing and does it quickly without too much burden and bureaucracy. It seems to measure the independent feasibility and economic impacts, looking for the good, so we can measure the good of what this does. But shouldn't we also consider the potential negative impacts of disparate impact, so that if they're creating something that's degrading a neighborhood, that we understand that as well. It doesn't mean that it stops the development, but at least it brings an awareness to us that we can have an impact, hopefully, on that. If it's as of right, there's not much we can do. So I also like Commissioner, the Chairman's suggestion that there's a trigger, his amendment, that there's a trigger that creates this. And that gives us the leverage in that moment that if we recognize a negative impact, that we can address it with the moment of that item that they're seeking. So that would be my ask, that you include the words disparate impact within the studies, not just economic and feasibility, but that it actually looks for the potential negatives.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, because the intention was to find the positive and the negative impact. You see, well, that's why it's a cost-benefit analysis, the positive. But we will include that, and I'm open for an amendment to it that will include what, in your own words, and I want the city clerk to include the Commissioner Russell's suggestion. And what I'm trying to do is have a clear picture of what's happening.
Is there any other discussion?
Requests for disparate impacts amendments and a trigger point. We'll have to work with planning and amend between first and second.
The only issue I have is the trigger point, and I agree with you, Commissioner Reyes, that we have to make sure that our return on investment and the things that we approve make sense, don't adversely impact communities. But I'm a little bit concerned. I remain concerned. I'm going to vote for it today because it's first reading. I remain concerned that I don't want to delay or stymie the economic output that we need right now in our community. I'm very worried about what's going to happen to our city financially next year and the year after that. And I want to make sure that what we can do, being careful, being thoughtful, and deliberative in the process, but that we can spur economic development. Chairman Hardiman's concerned, a lot of the downtown areas, a lot of these developments, we need to move to to move some of these things forward. I remain a bit concerned that this could create some sort of legal impediment or obstacle to that moving at a faster pace. I've always been concerned that all governments, but I found here since I've been here in the city of Miami, moves too slow sometimes, and this is kind of a time that we need to be deliberate and thoughtful, but we need to move quickly to make sure that our residents get some of that economic windfall that they desperately need right now. That's my only concern. I'm not for today, but I remain concerned on that part of it. And we'll have a conversation, I guess, moving forward as we bring it up again, and see with the administration or with our city manager, seeing sort of if we can find some solution or at least some answers to the questions that I still have in my head.
And then we can place the process that could expedite this as much as it can. You see? And Commissioner, it will behoove the developer to expedite this analysis. So it will be.
I agree. There's a burden that falls on them. They have to give us something that works for us. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. I agree with you on that. I mean, no discussion. But it could be a win-win for both, and the city can benefit a lot, and our residents can benefit a lot if we get some of these things, going. So that's my only issue.
Okay. Thank you.
I wanted to clarify that what Vice Chairman Russell was requesting talks about negative impacts and not necessarily the term of art disparate impacts that's pursuant to federal law, just negative impacts in general. I wanted to clarify that for the record.
Could you explain the difference, please? Because I was specific in the wording.
Right, I think the disparate is probably important to him. Because, no, I think it's important to him because he wants to show, I don't want to put words in the commissioner's mouth, but how this project is, if the impacts are similar to other projects in the area, then Commissioner, you want to better explain it?
Yes, I did choose the wording carefully. Disparate impact is a big concern that we have, but I'm asking the city attorney if there's a negative consequence of using that wording under federal guidelines. What would it do? What would it change?
The impact studies that would be required for a disparate impact is very different than trying to ascertain negative impacts of a project. That is the type of research that I don't even think that we have the wherewithal to complete. With that said, that's why it's a term of art pursuant to federal law. It's also,
I believe that a lot of historically, some of the projects that have come across the board in the city of Miami have had a disparate impact of displacement, gentrification, and if that's what we're planning, then fine, but it shouldn't happen by mistake, and it shouldn't happen by our cause without our awareness. And so if we believe that we want to preserve neighborhoods and build them up in a healthy way for the residents who live there now, a disparate impact study is what's necessary. I'm willing to look between first and second on what that entails, what that would burden the developer with. But I did choose the wording carefully, and I would like to see that type of study included.
Commissioner, that's the problem. See, hold on a second. Let me explain what it is.
I want to recognize. One second. I want to recognize Commissioner Reyes, and then I'm going to come back to the senator, and then I'll hear a response from the city attorney.
Listen. I am an economist. I have performed bundle of benefit cost analysis for the private sector. You see, when you have to, you are going to open up a factory or something like that. I have done that in Miami, in overseas and all that. What I'm trying to do is, the negative impact, he will show on it when you have a benefit cost analysis. These are the benefits of this and could create, these are the consequences of this. You see? That is what you don't have to use the wording of negative impact if you are doing a benefit cost analysis. That's it. See, if that language, Vicky, you consider that it is, it's not accepted. But the analysis that cost benefit analysis, it's performed by the federal government. You see, it's performed by the state. It's performed by everybody.
Senator,
It is true. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
My
It is what-
motion away. I made the motion figuring this is first reading.
Yes.
We would save half an hour of discussion. If we haven't, so I'm pulling my motion out. You know, you guys want to keep talking about this?
I move it. I mean, I second your motion. I second your motion.
we're almost there.
Wait, hold on a second, because it is true, and I mean, Mr. Chair, it is true that Commissioner Russell did pick his words carefully, and those words matter.
Yes.
What he's talking about is very different than what Commissioner Reyes is talking about. The cost benefit analysis, I would support. To put a disparate study into that, that's a problem, because that really creates an obstacle to things moving forward. Because now you're talking about, you're throwing to the mix, gentrification debates and things that are occurring all over the city on a lot of these projects. So now you're asking for creating an additional burden to what's going to happen. So ask for that kind of a study. So I would support a cost benefit. I will not support an amendment by Commissioner Russell that adds that additional language. That's just my position on it.
Okay, in a cost benefit analysis, it shows also what are the consequences.
Of course. But negative impacts.
It's the same
Negative
thing.
impacts are different than what Commissioner Russell's talking about.
That's right. But
Two different
Well,
things.
we cannot only stress the negative.
Right.
You have to wait
Mr.
for it.
Reyes,
Yes, sir.
have you checked this with some of our local ambulance chasers?
No, sir.
Okay, well, just wondering, because I don't want you to be wrongly attacked in that circle of Twitter accounts,
Vice Chairman.
Thank you. I'll amend my amendment to reflect what the city attorney is recommending in terms of negative versus disparate, because of the actual study that would create. But I do believe it's important for us to know, rather than having community debates of whether or not a proposed project has a negative impact on displacement and gentrification, this would provide an actual guideline, a third party that measures this and says this does or does not. And if it does, then we know what we need to ask of that developer to mitigate that. But that's why I bring it up, and that's why the wording's important. If the will's not here to do that, I won't try to stand in way of the legislation, and I won't vote against it. I'll take what we can get today in terms of just measuring negative impacts. But I do want to bring it about. That's why I've brought this up, because projects can kick people out of a neighborhood at a very high pace, and if we don't mitigate that and build to preserve those, we might be party to that gentrification and displacement.
I'm glad you're bringing that up, Commissioner, because gentrification is exactly what is happening in Little Havana. Is the main threat that Little Havana has. And all these projects that all these wonderful developers come and they want another 40, another 50, another 60% more than they could build, that they're allowed to under our zoning laws. In exchange that they're going to give us all these wonderful workforce housing, or in some few cases, you can say low-income housing. None of that has ever happened. Now, does it happen? And what he does is, every one of those projects, I don't need a study to tell me that they are the main force that's contributing to gentrification and moving people out. Every time we approve one of those projects, all that we're doing is creating housing for people in the northeast of the U.S., another part of Florida, another part of Miami-Dade County to move into our city and bring the problems and the ideas that those other cities had into our own city. And we're not creating housing, we're not providing housing for our own people. Our own people are still stuck in the same rut, in the same housing that they are. This is why we will soon be bringing to you some straightforward ideas on how we could take the bull by the horns on like any other city in America has. We're going to create housing that's not going to be gentrification, that's going to be for our own people here that haven't had the opportunity to move in new housing, to be able to have it, to be able to afford it, and not to be creating housing so that developers can fill their pockets up even more. And we're bringing new people that have nothing to do with our city. Many people don't understand our city.
Commissioner, thank you for that comment. I'm certainly excited about that. Even if I'm not here in the city of Miami, I mean that's some of the things that we've been fighting for in all of our districts. Really, and truly.
Yes.
Able to see it come to fruition. It's going to be an exciting day for all of us.
Well, Commissioner, I thank you for those words, but you will be part of it. You've been part of it. You're going to be part of it before you leave. And then from your new position, you'll be able to work with us.
That's right.
And show them how to implement it at the county.
And how to contribute county funds into the project that we're going to have in the city of Miami.
So
and I hope he doesn't change his mind when he gets there. That county has a way of changing people.
Yeah, looking down at us.
Listen, as long as there's scotch and sushi, I'll be around.
You're good to go. You're good to go.
All right, so let's now stop the discussion about this item and then say, is there a the motion's been approved? So seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the item?
Chair, my apologies. I want to confirm the amendments that are being accepted. Chair Hardiman, you had an amendment regarding triggers, which was accepted by the mover and seconder. And then Commissioner Russell had an amendment regarding measuring negative impacts. That was accepted by the mover and seconder?
Yes.
That was
with that wording,
That wording, it said cost benefit analysis.
Cost benefit analysis, so not yet negative impacts, but cost benefit analysis that includes negative impacts, right?
That's right, yes.
Understood.
All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Madam City Attorney, can you read FR3 into the record?
FR3, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 10 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Buildings, more particularly by creating a new Article 11 titled Citywide Illumination Standards to extend the provisions of Section 8C3 of the Code of Miami-Dade County, Florida, applicable within municipalities and related to providing lighting of open parking lot areas underneath buildings and alleys to public rights of way in the city of Miami as defined herein, providing for the building officials' enforcement of this article as required by the county code to be accomplished by the building officials designee, including but not limited to code compliance inspectors, providing for penalties for violation containing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Chair?
You recognize, sir.
Yes, before we had some discussions about this and it was open and we didn't continue, but what I did, I reached to the manager and the administration, and I requested that those buildings that they have those that they will have to place lighting in underneath the buildings and the alleys, that the city of Miami should waive permit fees for those buildings. Now, the new constructions and all of that, they should be incorporated, but the existing buildings, the permit fees will not be, it will be waived. That I got that concession from the administration, and I want to include that in the resolution, in the ordinance.
Thank you. I will also sponsor this ordinance, and I will make the motion if we can move quickly on it on first reading.
I second it.
Probably moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I have a little bit of a concern about this. I spoke to your executive director at the Downtown Development Authority yesterday, Commissioner Reyes.
Yeah.
The costs associated with some of these businesses. I asked her to give me sort of an idea how many businesses we're talking about.
I don't
And I
have.
sort of, I'm gonna vote for it. It's first reading and.
No, that's a good question, and I promise that I will have that information. And okay, and I don't know if you've been around downtown lately. Yeah, but last Friday I went around downtown, and I saw a lot of movement. Maybe it was people that they have the COVID-19 fatigue, and then they wanted to go out and all of that. But it was bustling with people walking around. And one thing that it was noticeable, and people that were with me in the car, is how lighted it is now, because we started this program of lighting downtown Miami, and that is it's a safety issue, because even if you have a promenade and it covers the light from the street, and people can hide it. You see, and it's not only in downtown Miami; it's all over. And this is the intent of this ordinance, trying to make the city more. Try to make it safer.
Right, and because public safety, in my mind, public safety is always more important than cost. I'm voting for it, but again, I'm kind of in this frame of mind right now that anything that imposes undue burdens on our hurting businesses is always something that concerns me. I don't want to continue to do anything that places more burdens or more costs on our businesses that are already suffering. So that's the only issue that I have with it. I would like to know what kind of costs we're talking about. I don't know how many businesses will be impacted and how many of them can actually afford, in today's economy and what's happening, can actually afford to pay it, and to illuminate those areas. That should really be a city. Public safety is really a city responsibility, a governmental responsibility, not a private entity responsibility. If they put awnings and we authorize them to put awnings, or we permit it, and it covers the lighting that the city's providing.
That's right.
That's that's really the problem, not so much the fact that we now force them to go in and say, hey, now you have to do additional lighting at a cost to you. They're having difficulty paying their rent. They're having difficulty paying their employees. Some of them are going out of business. So to me, any additional burdens and costs on them is a concern. And every decision I'm going to be making in the next 6 months to a year. So I always look into, I'm in that frame of mind. But I agree with the public safety issue. I agree that there are a lot of areas that are dark areas, and that we have to protect our citizens too. I just don't know if it should be us doing it instead of them.
Believe me, Commissioner, I'm with you. I'm also a fiscal conservative person, and I'm pro-business, and I think that in particular small businesses, which is the main job creator in the United States. I agree with you 100%. But part of public safety is it promotes business. See, it promotes patronage and all of that, and we have to take everything into consideration. And also any help that we can provide, be it from DBA or from our city, on permits and all of that, I think that it is our duty to do that. I agree with you 100%, and feel free to make any suggestions or whatever you about this or any other. We at DBA, we would like to, we're promoting an assistance program for those people that have to place lighting on the front. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, quick question for the sponsor, Commissioner Reyes. I think it's great that the DDA would be providing a grant that would help them with this light improvements. But for lack of that grant and the way the ordinance is written, who is responsible for the penalty? Is it the tenant who is there, or is it the landlord who owns the property?
Well, that's something that has to be determined, but I think that the landlord is the one that it is responsible. You see,
the owner of the property.
The owner of the property.
Unless there's something in the agreement,
Right.
in the lease agreement that transfers it, but usually we would
cite the owner.
Yes.
Because it could be the tenant's build out and the awning that they place, for example, that's reducing the lighting. Okay.
Yes.
I'm into it now, but I understand.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Seeing no further discussion.
Chair, and again, my apologies. Did Commissioner Reyes request an amendment earlier during the discussion? Or are we voting on the first reading?
No, it is what I proffer was the permit waiver, or it's going to be a fee waiver for the permits. So for those people, those owners that they are existing. You see, existing owners that if they're going to install lighting, they need to come and get a permit. Well, the fee for that permit will be waived to those owners that are existing owners now, or existing buildings, and they are required to install that light. You see?
So I'm to assume that's an amendment to the legislation?
Yes,
Now, Commissioner Correa was the mover of the item.
yes, and I second it.
Present to accept that amendment. So what we'll do is, Commissioner Reyes, if you want to move it with that amendment, is there a seconder?
Second it.
With the amendment. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And against? Motion carries. Can you read FR 4, please? Title.
An ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 18, Article 3 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Finance City of Miami Procurement Ordinance, more particularly by amending Section 1872 of the Code, titled Application and Exclusions, Section 18-73 of the Code, titled Definitions, Section 1885 of the City Code, titled Competitive Sealed Bidding, Section 1886 of the City Code, titled Competitive Negotiations, Competitive Sealed Proposals, Section 18-118 of the City Code, titled Public-Private Partnerships, and Section 18-119 of the City Code, titled Unsolicited Proposals, as to modify and or add electronic submission and receipt of bids and proposals for formal solicitation, removal of current notice, advertisement requirement of publication of each formal solicitation via multiple different newspapers, and uploading current language containing a severability clause and providing for an immediate effective date.
Mr. Chair, through the chair, this is an administration item, and they asked me to sponsor it, and it is a cost-cutting measure. It costs us a lot of money every time that we have to publish anything that.
Well then, Commissioner Reyes, I'm glad to hear that this is an administrative item, because I didn't want to speak too negatively about something that you proposed, but I must admit to you, and the Senator, I think he should be very aware of this as well, because he's the chairman of the CRAs, is that this procurement ordinance, the changes that it has on Section 1872, line 1, it includes now the community redevelopment agencies. It also gives that language in another part of this ordinance, and the problem with that is that makes this language, when you include the CRAs, language that really puts the CRAs to its knees. And so, I mean, I would go so far as say that it kills the CRAs, because you have to remember that the CRAs have a limited amount of time in order to bring change into these areas, that they are implemented in. And when you put the exact procurement ordinance that the city utilizes in those CRAs, what you're doing is you're crippling them, because now the CRAs can't act quickly to address and eliminate slum and blight in these communities. And what it does is it creates, basically, if you think about these flagship bid disputes that have been going on in other parts of the city of Miami. So you think about, for instance, Watson Island, right? For years, right? You have these disagreements, I mean, that go on 5, 6, 7, 10 years. That happening in the CRA on a parcel of land that's owned by the city of Miami or by the CRA is devastating to the CRA. You don't want that. For instance, there's some current litigation that's going on one of the plots of land in the CRA. But even withstanding that current litigation, where the judge has now thrown out a significant amount of accounts and said that there's no case there, but for the CRA operating differently than the city of Miami, that land will be tied up, and you would have already, whether it hadn't been developed on for 5 to 7 years, under the people who had it before, you would have the lack of development moving forward. And so I say that to say that the other language in this might be good, but when you include the CRAs to be subjected to the same procurement ordinance as the city of Miami, you're doing something that is devastating to that area that needs that improvement. There's a reason in the first place that the CRAs were not included in the procurement ordinances, and or to follow the strict language of the procurement ordinance that the city has. There's a reason that it was like that, and now what you're seeing is as time goes on, lots of agencies, including in the state, they're trying to make them mirror. But you have to remember that people did not want these CRAs to become into existence in the first place because they're helping these communities that have been long forgotten. So I would suggest that the language regarding CRAs be stricken so that it remains the way that it used to be in the procurement ordinance, and then the rest of the language you can move forward.
Chairman, I believe the state law changed, and that's why we have to include CRAs. I will double check that for you, but I think it's a recent change. I'll double check.
And it wasn't my intention to include the CRA. Right. I didn't draft this. And it was an administration, and I was going to refer to the administration and the language because it was understood. I asked the same question that CRAs were included because state law required.
Okay,
it's been a recent change. We will.
And if it is a recent change, well, I want to call you Senator, but if it is a recent change, then I would recommend we continue this item until you bring us
absolutely.
I have not heard. I agree with the chairman here. I have not heard of the recent change. I'm not familiar with it. Our attorney, you don't know if it's been. You believe or you don't.
We'll send it to you. There's been.
So I will not continue. I will also move to continue the item.
I will second. I asked that moving this until everything is clear.
It's been properly moved and continued to. It's been properly moved and seconded to continue this item to the next meeting. So I want to make sure we have this language.
All right.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. FR 5, can you read into the record, please?
An ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending emergency ordinance number 13902, the tolling ordinance, to end the tolling and suspension of applicable deadlines and time periods prescribed in the code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended. Ordinance number 13114, the zoning ordinance of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, and resolution number R20-0015, adopted January 23, 2020, relating to the Miami 21 report ad hoc committee task force that were previously suspended by adoption of the emergency tolling ordinance and providing an immediate effective date.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Is there a motion?
Move. Second.
Should probably move second that we adopt FR 5. See no further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against? That motion carries. Madam City Attorney, can you read into the record FR 6?
FR 6, you all received a substitution regarding changing the word families to family. Okay. An ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 38, Article 1 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Parks and Recreation General, by establishing a new section 38-25 titled Naming of Gold Star Family Memorial Mini Park, formerly known as a Silver Bluff Mini Park, located at 2300 Southwest 22nd Terrace, Miami, Florida, naming it as the Gold Star Family Memorial Mini Park, making certain findings relative to the naming of this mini park, directing the city manager to take all administrative action necessary to effectuate the naming of this park, including the placement of a suitable plaque commemorating Gold Star Family at the mini park containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Chair?
You recognize.
I was asked to name it this way because this is to honor those family of military members that they have lost their lives in the country. And it is, I think it it is our duty to honor those families that have suffered the loss of their loved ones in active duty. And that's the least that we can do. I mean, I'm my opinion.
Is that a motion, Commissioner?
Yes, I move it. I'll second it.
Moved in second. Any further discussion on the item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against? That motion carries. Let's recognize the PI number 2, Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yes, I tried to scoot this one onto an agenda, but not. This is in response to Mayor Jimenez finally lifting the ban on micromobility in the county that had kept many cities from being able to utilize micromobility, where other cities and counties throughout the country have actually encouraged it during COVID because it's a very socially distanced way to get around. It's better than being in an Uber or being inside a bus with other people. You're out in the open air, breathing fresh air and getting around. He also included in his order, or he will include, I understand in his order, it's a mandate for sanitizers to be included on each scooter or bike so that people can clean off the handlebars or the touch points so there's no risk of COVID. So rather than waiting another month, my goal here is just to extend the pilot program that had gotten cut short until the final RFP is awarded and brought back to us for a permanent program. My only amendment here that I would offer is that it include a fee to each company, which is not mentioned here. In the past, we've charged them $50,000 for each extension of the pilot, and this would be a new extension of the pilot program. So if 6 companies got in it, it would be an additional $300,000 for the city in addition to the per day charge that we receive. So I hope for your support on this item. I think it's just another option for our residents to get around back and forth during the pandemic and beyond. Thanks. So I'll move the item if there's support.
Move.
What item is this again?
This is his pocket item. PI number.
What pocket item?
The scooter issue.
Extending the scooter
Yes,
program.
the scooter issue. And Mr. Chairman?
I want to recognize the senator first, and then I'll come back to you, Commissioner Reyes.
Yes, sir. Senator. I have a concern about this. First of all, the whole hand sanitizer on a scooter, I can't picture how that's going to work, how you're going to put some hand sanitizer on a scooter. But I also have spoken to some of these scooter companies in the last couple of days, and they've told me that they're not even ready to start again. So to me, I think it's premature, Commissioner Russell. I don't want to kill it because I want to have a conversation about scooters down the line. But I'm not going to vote for this today. I prefer you would defer this item to the next meeting, and we can have a better conversation about it. I think, and just not take up our time today because I think we have a lot of issues to deal with. Yes, I do agree with Commissioner Padilla that we should treat this next, because I have my concerns with also with the scooters and also that I don't know how can you keep this. Avoid by all means the contamination or the spread of the disease using these scooters when most of them sometimes they are laying on the middle of the street, even though when they claim that they have people picking it up. And I want to make sure that this will be, and I don't disagree with Commissioner Russell that the time that was allotted for them for this pilot program, the time that was not used due to COVID-19, that we should honor that time in the pilot program and extend it. I agree with that. But I would like more information on how they are going to take care of the to avoid the spread of COVID-19, because it really, I am a little concerned about it. I'm concerned about it. So let's move it to our next meeting and
Mr. Chairman, I'll withdraw the item, and yes, let's bring it back at the next commission meeting.
But it'll come back at the next commission meeting, because Commissioner Russell, I think that we have to work through some of the, through you, Mr. Chair, I apologize. We do have to work through some of the details of the revenue sharing agreements with the different commissions and all the things that we talked about that are going to be included in the RFP, hopefully, as we move forward. But it's something that I'm willing to have a conversation with you about. I've supported in the past, not for bike lanes, but for, sidewalks and other things. So I think that we can have a conversation about that. So I just want you to know that I can be supportive down the line. I just want to make sure that it makes more sense for the whole city. And I do agree. I like your idea about having the additional $50,000, $300,000 for the city. Because again, anything that's a revenue generator, always being safe, public safety is very important also in all realms, right? So as long as the RFP includes those safety concerns I've always had, and those additional revenues, and perhaps I can even talk to you about doing it. And I got to say public, I can say to you privately, obviously. So perhaps having some of those things in District 1 also. Some of those scooters operate in the health district and other parts like that. Jackson Hospital in that area, it may work for me. It may be something that I may be amenable to down the line. So a little bit of expansion of that program to certain areas. I think every commissioner has a right to decide if they don't want to do district. I think in some parts of my district it may work, but I do want to share some of those revenues with you. You can't keep it all for District 2. You got to get a little bit of money. It's just the way it works. So we're going to be fighting for money and some sidewalk repairs and things of that nature that we need in District 1 that I'll be very interested in talking to you about in the next commission meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, since it was withdrawn, I'll withhold my comments on it until it comes back. Are there any boards and committee appointments?
Good morning, Chair.
Yes, I have a board.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. BC7, the Climate Resilience Committee, Mayor Suarez would like to appoint Rachel Silverstein Altman. She's an expert in climate coastal management to his vacant seat.
So moved.
Second by the chair. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. All against? Motion carries.
BC14, Health Facilities Authority Board, Vice Chair Russell will be appointing Dr. Edward Abraham to his vacant seat.
The motion, seconded by the chair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
BC16, LGBTQ Board, Advisory Board, Commissioner Reyes will be appointing Janelle Sophia Perez. She requires a 4/5 residency waiver as required by Code Sections 2-884B and Section 2-1351B. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
More here.
All against? Motion carries.
BC17, Mayor's Council on Global Competitiveness, Commissioner Diaz de la Portillo will be appointing David Sentner to his vacant seat.
Move it.
Second by the chair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And BC22, Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board, Commissioner Corroyo will be appointing Paul Mann to a vacant seat.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. That concludes the board and committees. Thank you.
Okay. So I think that concludes our main agenda. Now we have okay, we know that our budget hearing starts in the evening.
Chair, I'm sorry, there is a PZ4.
Right, we have one more item, PZ4. My question is, we can tackle that item. If we tackle that item now, right, that gives us time where we can be gone until, what is it, like 5 in the evening? So I think that's probably best, instead of us breaking, then trying to come back, and then you run into the evening. So let's try to take it. So, Madam Assistant City Clerk, let's do it. PZ4.
I believe that we need to bring in the appellants. Do we know the status of them coming on? Or are they present at City Hall?
There are no one in the chambers here. I'm not sure if IT has any information on the attendees for that portion of the meeting.
Mr. Garcia, are you aware of anything?
Yes, thank you. They have been provided the links, so I imagine they would be on standby.
I see on the attendees list, we have Warren Adams here.
Sharon Castrione needs to be promoted, please.
I don't see a Sharon. Is she under a different name?
Barnaby, is there another name?
I defer to Ms. Zamora, who arranged all this.
Yeah, Miss Zamora is a co-host, so she has the ability now to promote as well. Sharon Castrillon, yeah. I don't see Miss Castrillon.
In the meantime, while we're organizing all this, I believe that the clerk did not read a little portion about the swearing in and those things. So I just wanted to read that for the record while we're bringing everybody in. Individuals who will be providing testimony to be sworn in for planning and zoning on any quasi-judicial matters for city commission. So members of city staff or any individuals required to be sworn in who will be present at City Hall were to be sworn in by the clerk. Those individuals who are appearing remotely would be sworn in as well by the individuals, by either the clerk or other personnel pursuant to Emergency Ordinance 13903. Those individuals appearing remotely may be sworn in at their location by individuals qualified to administer the oath, primarily the appellants. And after you are sworn in, please be sure to complete and sign and notarize the affidavits that have been provided by the city attorney's office. Each individual who will provide testimony must be sworn in and execute an affidavit. Please email the scanned version of the signed affidavit to the city clerk at thannon@miamigov.com prior to providing testimony on the planning and zoning items or quasi-judicial items. The affidavit shall be included in the record for the relevant item for which you are providing testimony. Thank you.
Okay.
May I suggest that the applicant may also be under the name of Jessica Collazo, Collazo. Would you happen to have someone standing by under that name?
No, I don't see anyone with that name. I know they were just emailed. Castellon was just sent an email by Ms. Zamora.
So Jessica Collazo is the architect. Is there a lawyer that's going to be making this argument for them?
I'm not aware of one, Mr. Chair. It was the architect and the property owner that have previously presented these items.
Are we sure that Ms. Collazo isn't an attorney?
Well, it says Jessica Collazo of Khalil Architects, so I'm assuming they're not attorneys. Does anyone have her contact? Has anyone called her?
We're contacting them as we speak, yes.
Thank you. I'm having a hard time understanding why this applicant wouldn't be available.
Again, they were certainly advised and they were provided the link. We're certain of that. That can be, that has been corroborated. I'm certainly not sure as to why they might not be readily available. They should have been. That said, Commissioner, certainly ready to present. I'll also suggest to you, to the Commission, that the department's position is essentially the same as the property owners. We would both recommend your upholding the appeal, but certainly it would be preferable for the appellant to be present. Now, we've made calls to them and they are presently not responding, unfortunately.
Chairman, we can also reset it to the next agenda.
I'm not resetting this.
Good morning, Architect.
Good morning. This is Khalil Architects. Yes. This is Keon Hardman. I'm the chairman of the Miami City Commission.
Yeah, I see you in the presentation.
Okay.
Speak because the client is here, but if you can add me to the presentation.
Are you on the? You are in the participants list?
I'm not sure.
What's your name?
Eduardo Camilo.
Eduardo Camille.
Khalil.
Also C-A-L-I-L. All right, 1 second. Does anyone see a Khalil in the participant list? See a Khalil on the attendees list either.
See him.
If he can facilitate his email address, we'll send him a link right away.
Can you give us your email address and we'll send you the link right away?
Sure thing. Eduardo, Jr. at KhalilArchitects.com.
So Eduardo, E-D-U-A-R-D-O.
Yes. Jr. for junior.
J-R for junior. At CALIL.com.
Architects.
Oh, architects with an S at the end?
Yes.
.com.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be sending it to you momentarily.
All right, thank you so much.
Rarely do in court, rarely do the judges call the parties on the bench, but when they do,
Link was sent.
Madam City Attorney, the order in which this is usually, it's the appellant, then the department, correct?
Yes.
There's a Kristen Flores with her hand raised. Do I promote her?
Let me see. I don't know who.
You have the ability to ask her what she wants. I know we don't.
You can ask her.
Ask her who she is and what she wants, and then
I can confirm that the link has been resent, so they should be with us promptly.
Ms. Flores, are you from Khalil Architects?
I don't know if you can hear, but yes, it's actually me. It's because it's Kristen's computer, and
Okay.
I'm logged into her account instead of mine. I thought I was logged into mine. I apologize.
Okay, understood. Wonderful. Can you, do you have the ability to show video?
Yeah, they were just promoted to panelists, so they do.
Okay, you are. All right, sir. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Is it afternoon already? Almost. Good midday.
State your name for the record, please.
My name is Eduardo Khalil from Khalil Architects.
And how are you related to this matter?
We are the architect for Ms. Sharon Castellon.
Okay, so you will then be representing the appellant in this matter.
Yes, yes. Well, she asked us this morning to actually see if we can defer the meeting because she wanted to actually be part of it. And she had some personal issues because of COVID in her family. So she asked to if we can possibly defer this until the next presentation.
Is she the one going to be making the presentation, or are you making the presentation?
I would be making it, but she wanted to partake. So she wanted to see if it's possible to defer it until the next meeting.
Mr. Chair,
You recognize.
is this a controversial matter?
All things are controversial, and
Of course, it's the city of Miami, I know that, but I mean, is this in relative terms?
I will say this, right? That this matter should be, I would appreciate to be able to handle this matter while I'm still here. So I'll give them, I'm okay with giving her one continuance to the next, to our next hearing. So the continuous.
I'm asking you, Chair, because it's in your district, but it's very close to mine, right?
Right. You should know that this has the history of this is very important as well, because this matter has been going on since about 2015. I was unaware that they had sold the property, but these are facts that we're going to learn, and I'm sure they're going to put on the record. So I want to make sure that that this isn't lost upon us, that this was a contributing structure when it was initially demolished. So I want to make sure that we have this discussion sooner than later.
And your position, Mr. Chairman, I may ask, is that it was already demolished, or at a point that it's a private property owner, and then they should be allowed to build, or just?
Well, I want to make sure that they present the facts on the record, so we can talk about the facts on the record. But if you look, when you read and you look through the history of this case, it was a contributing structure. The person who bought the property, who asked for it to be demolished, were building it back in the exact likeness. They were just building with the new codes, because they were claiming that the property was in bad shape at the time. So this new applicant, from what I've read in the record, is proposing some changes, and that's why I want to make sure that we get a chance to discuss it without any real true delay, because it was a contributing structure. So it was in Spring Garden, which is a historic neighborhood. It is the most important type of structure in that area, which is one that is contributing versus non-contributing. We've had a tremendous amount of discussion regarding private property ownership and these sorts of areas, et cetera. So, I have the highest regard for private property ownership and what people can and can't do on their properties. This property, though, was a bit encumbered, if you will, when it was purchased. So I want to make sure that we have this discussion. So that we continue talking about it now when she's not here. She asked for a continuance. I'm going to give her this one continuance.
Okay.
But we do it to the next meeting, but she should be here, and we don't expect any delay. Okay, so the motion to continue.
So moved.
Properly moved, seconded by the chair. Seeing no further discussion on the matter, all in agreement, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Okay, that motion passes, so this was continued. Thank you very
Mr. Chair?
much. Yes.
I just wanted to remind Mr. Khalil and any of the witnesses that they're going to have for this presentation, they need to be sworn in, and you need to provide the proper affidavits. That needs to be done on your end. If you have any questions, please contact Ms. Zamora. That should have been already explained to you.
Well, verify. I think I was supposed to be. I'm not sure if it was Ms. Castellon or myself that did the affidavit, but I will verify. I'll make sure that it's all important. We have our notary here to swear us in.
Thank you.
Okay.
Continuance, yes.
All right, so I don't think there's anything else left on the agenda. Am I correct? Okay. Then.
Thank you.
The next thing thank you very much, Mr. Khalil. The next thing that we have would be, what is it, 5:05, 5 o'clock for the budget? Okay, so I'll see everyone then. This meeting has come to an end.
Thank you, everyone.
You're fine, guys.
Today.
You.